What's the creepiest display of intelligence you've ever witnessed? Nothing reminds you somebody's a different species faster than watching an 11-year-old ruin dinner with experimental brain surgery commentary. My cousin is one of those terrifying genius kids who's so smart he genuinely forgets normal humans exist. We were at this big family dinner and all the kids were sitting at the kids' table doing regular kid stuff. Talking about games, school drama, sports, dumb YouTube videos. Total chaos. Somebody gets the idea that everyone should show their favorite internet video. So naturally, people start pulling up memes, Vine compilations, dumb fails, whatever. Then my cousin quietly takes out his phone, and this absolute psychopath plays an hour-long brain surgery video during dinner, during lamb curry. Now imagine being 8 years old, trying to eat naan, while somebody's skull is peeled open 3 feet away on an iPhone screen. Half the younger kids immediately start gagging. One starts crying. My little brother looked like his soul left his body. Finally, somebody screams at him to turn it off, and instead of apologizing like a normal child, this kid calmly starts explaining what the surgeons were doing wrong. Not vague, "Oh, I saw this online" stuff either. Detailed technical criticism, procedures, instrument choices, alternative approaches, just casually lecturing like a tiny exhausted neurosurgeon trapped in a middle schooler's body. Parents come over because the table basically turned into a trauma scene, and everybody's just standing there stunned while this 11-year-old keeps talking uninterrupted like he's presenting at a medical conference. Then, one of my uncles, who's an actual surgeon, finally cuts in afterward and goes, technically, he's correct. Apparently, the stuff my cousin was talking about wasn't even standard practice yet. Some of it was still experimental research. To this day, nobody knows where he learned it. And honestly, my younger brother still won't eat lamb curry because his brain permanently connected it to exposed human brain matter, which, fair enough, honestly. Story 2. Nothing makes you feel intellectually bankrupt faster than watching some random dude speedrun entire languages, like their Duolingo side quests. I was in the military, doing this brutal 9-month German course at the Defense Language Institute. Collegiate level stuff. We started with 15 people and graduated with 6. Everybody was stressed out of their minds the whole time. Sleep-deprived zombies whispering German grammar rules like we were trapped in a psychological experiment. Then there was this guy, plainest-looking white dude imaginable, Indiana. Looked like he should have been selling lawn equipment or grilling hot dogs in flip-flops. Meanwhile, this man turned out to be some kind of linguistic cryptid. Before German, he'd already tested out of Spanish and Portuguese in weeks, not barely passed either. Fully fluent, and not fake classroom fluent where you can order bread and ask where the bathroom is. Nah, he could switch dialects mid-conversation. Spain to Dominican Republic, Brazil to Portugal, like changing radio stations. And apparently the school realized they'd accidentally created a monster, so they just kept feeding him more languages because his official transfer date was still far away. So while the rest of us were drowning in one language, this psycho casually completed Spanish, Portuguese, German, Arabic, and Farsi back to back. That's like watching somebody casually jog 5 marathons while you're vomiting after one staircase. And halfway through German, he secretly wrote an entire sci-fi book in German and turned it in to the teachers like it was homework. Who does that? The creepiest part? He acted completely normal. Quiet dude, friendly, no giant ego. Meanwhile, the rest of us already had 4 hours of homework a night and were mentally dissolving into soup. I asked him how he learned so fast, and his answer somehow made it worse. He said he'd take songs he already knew in English and rewrite them the way people from that culture would naturally say them. Not direct translation, actual cultural translation, which means this man wasn't just memorizing words. He was reverse engineering entire populations like some kind of friendly CIA android. Absolutely horrifying human being. Loved that guy. Story 3. Working with cops already feels weird because some of them have memories that aren't human anymore. Like their brains stop being brains and become government hard drives. I used to work with this guy, I'll call him Dave, who got temporarily assigned to our unit from some super secret investigation division. You know the type. Calm voice, weirdly polite, looks like he eats plain toast and remembers everything you've ever said. We were doing stop and search patrols in this neighborhood after a brutal gang murder. Tension everywhere. We stopped these 2 random guys, and immediately it's obvious they're clean. Totally normal dudes, just trying to exist. We chat for a minute and are about to leave when Dave suddenly goes, "I think I know you." The guy laughs awkwardly and says, "Nah, Definitely not. Never arrested, never in trouble, nothing. Dave keeps staring at him like his brain's running facial recognition software from 1997. Then he goes, "No, I do know you." At this point, I'm standing there wanting to evaporate into the sidewalk because what is happening? Then Dave starts casually listing this dude's entire childhood DLC pack. His full name, date of birth, his parents' names, old address, even the dad's arrest from 22 years earlier after some drunk domestic argument. Turns out Dave had gone to the guy's house once when he was a little kid because the dad got arrested for a minor disturbance. One call, 22 years ago. Not some serial killer case either. Basically, background noise in police work. And this man remembered the child. Not only remembered him, he mentally aged him up correctly, like he clicked progress character 22 years in a video game creator menu. The guy just stood there stunned. Honestly, so was I. That's when I realized why Dave worked high-level investigations. Dude's brain wasn't storing memories, it was indexing souls. Story 4. Nothing is scarier than realizing somebody can be both terrifyingly intelligent and unbelievably stupid at the exact same time. My ex was insanely tech-savvy, like scary level. The kind of person who could look at a computer for 10 minutes and suddenly your entire house felt compromised. We lived in a duplex and shared Wi-Fi with the neighbors. Years later, I realized this man had remotely accessed multiple computers on the network and manipulated things so the illegal images he was viewing wouldn't trace back to his own machine. And the worst part is I actually saw evidence of it once. I came home one day and walked into our room, and his monitor had this giant network map open, showing computers across both houses connected together. Like one of those hacker movie screens, except somehow grimier because the room smelled like old coffee and dust. I confronted him immediately, and he gaslit me so hard, I started doubting my own eyesight. Years later, everything shattered. I found a GIF on a shared tablet. It was filmed in our bathroom, unmistakably ours, and it showed my 14-year-old niece nude. I called the police instantly. He never came home again. He's in prison now. That first night, while police were investigating, I realized his Gmail was still logged into another tablet we owned. And I could literally watch his Google searches appearing in real time like a live feed, straight out of hell. When does child pornography become a federal offense? What's prison like in Virginia? Can you plead the fifth at custody court? Daddy going to jail. And somehow, after being careful enough to remotely manipulate multiple computers, this idiot forgot his Google account was synced to another device. That contradiction still messes with me, because people imagine monsters as masterminds. But a lot of the time, they're just reckless losers, with one highly developed skill and absolutely zero wisdom. Like watching somebody build a nuclear reactor out of duct tape and then forget where they left the keys. Story 5. You ever hear somebody say something so horrifyingly calm that your brain just quietly exits the chat? Shortly before my ex-wife and I separated, she admitted she'd intentionally isolated me from basically everybody in my life over the years. Friends, family, everybody, slowly pushed away, one by one. At first, I thought it was going to be the usual toxic relationship explanation. Jealousy, control issues, whatever. Nope, she told me, completely casually, that if she ever decided to kill me, she wanted enough time to dispose of the body and leave the country before anyone noticed I was gone. Just dropped that sentence into the room like she was discussing grocery shopping. And the worst part? She was absolutely right. By that point, I hadn't talked to most of my friends or family in like a year and a half. They already assumed I'd vanished into relationship isolation. If I suddenly stopped replying, nobody would have immediately panicked. They would have just thought, oh, she's probably got him avoiding people again. That realization hit me like ice water, because it wasn't some emotional outburst she blurted out during a fight. That's what still screws with me. It was calculated. Thought through. She'd analyzed timelines, social habits, reaction windows, like a logistics manager planning freight shipments, except the freight was apparently my corpse. And then halfway through explaining it, she acted weirdly proud of herself too, like she was revealing a clever life hack. I remember just sitting there thinking, oh cool, I'm married to a Discovery Channel true crime episode. Story 6. Some people are smart. Then there are people whose brains seem physically connected to satellites. I got thrown into intelligence work during a deployment to Afghanistan, even though I was infantry and had basically zero background in any of it. Suddenly, I'm sitting in rooms full of maps, reports, radio chatter, acronyms multiplying like rabbits. Felt like somebody dropped a Labrador into NASA mission control. I was the NCOIC, working alongside our OIC, this officer I'll call Mike, and Mike genuinely did not process information like a normal human being. We'd get some fresh intel report, say weapons shipments moving through an area, and before the rest of us even finished reading the thing, Mike would already be connecting it to obscure reports from months earlier. Not vague, this sounds familiar stuff either. Specific details, names, villages, vehicle descriptions, routes, tiny weird inconsistencies buried in old reports everybody else forgot existed. His brain worked like one of those detective conspiracy boards, except invisible and somehow perfectly organized. You'd literally watch him stare off for half a second and go, "No, this connects to that report from Kandahar in March. And the ammo transfer near Route X. Check the motorcycles from the previous incident." And he'd be right, over and over again. Honestly, it felt less like he remembered information, and more like he could see patterns floating in the air around us, like predator vision for military intelligence. Meanwhile, the rest of us were drowning in paperwork and caffeine, trying to keep up while this man casually assembled entire operational pictures out of scraps. And the important part, the part I'll always remember, is every single person in our unit came home alive. A lot of reasons go into that, obviously. Whole teams, whole systems. But Mike's ability to connect dots before other people even realized dots existed absolutely saved lives. I always felt like a little kid sitting at the adults' table around him. But honestly, I was proud just to witness somebody operating at that level. Closest thing to a real cyborg I've ever met. Story 7. You ever meet somebody who talks about human behavior the same way mechanics talk about engine noises? Like they're not judging you, they're diagnosing you. I used to know this guy who was super quiet around strangers, not shy exactly, more like selective. He'd answer questions with the bare minimum information possible, like every conversation was a hostage negotiation. At first I thought he was just guarded. Then one day he casually says, "I don't trust people who play dumb, but are actually smart. That's dangerous." And the way he said it made me realize this man had spent years studying people for survival. He admitted he used to be manipulative when he was younger, but wasn't like that anymore, which somehow made it worse because it sounded less like remorse and more like a retired supervillain explaining he's off the clock. The creepy part was how he observed people. Not surface level stuff either. Deep behavioral pattern recognition, tiny social tells nobody else noticed. He'd watch somebody for like 10 minutes and quietly go, "Bad childhood, approval seeking, probably had emotionally unstable parents," and then explain it step by step like a nature documentary. He fake laughs after his own jokes because he's trying to create safety and connection before rejection happens. Who thinks like that? And he kept being right. One time I mentioned my stepmom, barely described her at all, and this dude instantly goes, "She probably overcontrols the family because she has no personal control elsewhere. Your dad works? She doesn't. So managing everybody becomes her identity." Bro had never even met her. And the scary thing is, he didn't say any of this dramatically. No Sherlock Holmes theatrics. He'd say it while sipping a drink and staring at the wall like he was commenting on weather patterns. That's what unnerved me most. For him, people weren't mysterious. They were systems. Trauma in, behavior out. And honestly, the older I get, the more I realize he probably learned all that because he had to. Losing his mom, young, abusive relationships, foster system-adjacent chaos. People who survive environments like that sometimes become terrifyingly good at reading emotional danger, like emotional sonar, useful skill, horrifying childhood DLC. Story 8. My sister's brain makes the rest of us look like we're buffering. I swear to God, watching her exist is like seeing somebody casually cheat at life in broad daylight. You know that Matrix scene where they upload helicopter knowledge straight into Carrie-Ann Moss's brain? That. Except non-stop, every day, forever. Dishwasher breaks? 10 minutes on YouTube and suddenly she's explaining water inlet valves like a divorced dad on Home Depot Reddit. Then boom, fixed in half an hour, assuming Lowe's has the part. Car making a weird noise? She'll have you FaceTime her, listen for like 6 seconds, and go, "Oh, your serpentine belt tensioner's dying." Meanwhile, I still don't fully know what a serpentine belt is. Sounds like an enemy in Dark Souls. And it's not just mechanical stuff either, which is what freaks me out. Somebody mentioned some random fossil discovery over dinner, and suddenly she's connecting it to an archaeological dig from Chile in the 1980s, like she's secretly three historians stacked inside a trench coat. Then she'll pivot directly into making some ultra-specific Thai recipe she saw once. Not following the recipe either. She glances at it like Neo seeing the Matrix code and starts freestyling measurements by ancestral instinct. Oh, this needs more fish sauce. How do you know that? She remembers everybody's weird details too. Like your coworker's boyfriend hates rainbow sprinkles, but likes chocolate ones. Who stores this information? My brain deletes a person's name 14 seconds after hearing it. And animals? Don't even get me started. Feral dogs approach her like, Disney Princess Union rules require it. One time she looked at a limping stray from across a parking lot and went, probably hip inflammation. Vet said she was right. Meanwhile, her bosses keep trying to promote her. And she's like, nah, I want to make jam, which somehow makes her scarier, because that means she's operating at 2% power voluntarily. I'm telling you right now, if she ever wakes up one morning and decides society has had a good run, we are finished.